it is not simply generational trauma. Generational trauma typically involves the parents abusing the children and then the children becoming the abusers or being defined by that abuse or something like some variation of that. And this was different. This was Gemma being haunted by having grown up with a mother who was haunted. And Gemma perceived that as depression, alcoholism, mental illness, some version of this, right? And when she starts experiencing these hauntings herself, she starts to become her mother. There are several scenes in this where Gemma's behavior directly parallels what her mother did 20 years earlier. We've always talked about how the objective of horror is not to convince the audience that this is real, it's to remind them of a time when they were scared or to present them with an idea that is relatable, that is universal enough that anybody can get on board with being weirded out or scared by that, right? And here it is the idea that you are a bad parent. This idea that you are not better than the previous generation, even though your entire life you thought you were. And without even knowing it, you are becoming them in the worst possible way. And I think that hits home. I can totally understand why that would scare somebody. Like, imagine if you have parents who are very strict, like to the point of being stifling, and you grow up promising yourself that you're going to be better. And then you have a child, and then you find yourself exactly like your parents. That must be terrifying because it kind of suggests that there's something wrong with you in a way that is not really avoidable, that you can do nothing about. And when Gemma realizes that she's beginning to act like her mother and Maya is starting to be afraid of her in the same way that Gemma was afraid of her mother 20 years earlier, that is genuinely terrifying. And Gemma really at least sold me on the idea that this is terrifying. That comes after about an hour of build-up where we see how she's trying to keep her life in check, where she tries to be a good mother, but on the flip side of that is unable to let go of her baggage, like literal baggage that's sitting in her garage. And Maya keeps asking questions about grandma, and Gemma keeps saying when you're older, which is not really saying Maya is not ready to talk about this. It's saying Gemma is not ready to talk about this, right? Because you can explain to a 9-year-old, oh, grandma was ill and it was very difficult living with her and if she never got better. And that was very difficult and I'm trying to give you a better life. Like, if I had to explain this to a 9-year-old, I would find a way. So it is Gemma who is not ready to talk about this and to confront this. And now she's becoming her mother. And then it starts building on that when she goes into the further and starts communing with her mother's spirit. And we start seeing things from her mother's perspective. And we actually see that the mother was protecting her the entire time. That she, on some level, knew what was going on. She was doing her best to limit Cyrus's influence on her so that he could not go after Gemma. And I think that's cool. When you line it all up, there is a progression there and there's an arc there that I think works.